Michael, so the White House statement actually specifies that the US still recognizes Tibet as part of China. So how much of a shift in policy is this?
The simple answer is that not much of a shift, because in the United States' system, most power over foreign policy is vested in the president. So the president gets to determine who's a state, who's an autonomous region, and he repeated that very clearly. But Congress also plays an important role in shaping the contours of US foreign policy. It doesn't do it very often. One of the most dramatic instances that should be familiar to everyone here in Taiwan was the Taiwan Relations Act. And I think that we can see the 2002 Tibetan Policy Act and this new resolution as being very similar. Congress is expressing its sense that the executive needs to do more. One reason is that it hasn't been working. The past policy talks have ended since 2010. A second reason is the Dalai Lama, as we just saw in the video, is a frail shadow of his former self. He's not going to be around forever, and who will lead the Tibetan people? But most importantly, in the resolution, there are two really new things. Number one, the definition of Tibet is expanded beyond just what China calls the Tibetan Autonomous Region to other integrally Tibetan parts of China, such as Gansu, parts of Yunnan, a significant chunk of western Sichuan. And all of these have traditionally been part of Tibet, and the US is now recognizing it.
So essentially taking back some of that land from China. What is the significance of that? Where do you think that's leading to?
Well, I think the significance is that the United States is recognizing that the current Tibetan Autonomous Region, or as now they want to call it the Xizang Autonomous Region, was a creation of the People's Republic of China very early on in that state's history, and does not reflect the historical extent of the Tibetan, not only polity, but Tibetan civilization. A very clear example of this is that in 1959, when there was a bloody resistance to the Chinese takeover of Tibet, one of the most important centers of resistance was an area called Kham, which is actually entirely in western Sichuan. And if you go there today, you will see Tibetan nomads are the majority. And there's a similar situation in Deqin, in the northern corner of Yunnan. It's probably 90% Tibetan. So Gansu and Qinghai are also very similar as well. So the current boundaries of the Tibetan Autonomous Region are kind of a shadow of what Tibet once was. And the United States is trying to recognize that fact now. The second major point is apparently there are going to be funds appropriated to counter Chinese misinformation about Tibet. And so those are the two big takeaways that we need to pay attention to.